Welcome to Negotiation with Alice, your negotiation podcast. Everything that you do where you need to get on the same page with someone else is a negotiation. So whether you have to negotiate a contract with someone, or you simply need your boss to sign off on that program that you'd like to implement, or you want to figure out how to rebalance the chore structure in your home, or talk about what vacation you want to go on. All of these things are negotiations. So in my podcast, we go over both personal and professional conversations, which all are considered negotiation, and I will give you tips on how to come out ahead. Welcome to the show. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of Negotiation with Alice. Today, I've got Abigail Gorton here with us. Welcome, Abigail.
Hi, Alice. Thank you for having me.
Sure. I would love for you to introduce yourself and let everyone know what it is that you do and who do you work with.
Okay, my name is indeed Abigail Gorton. I call my business the Financial Whisperer. I help business owners. Usually they have about 5 to 25 people. And they want to know where their money is going. It's not quite as simple as that. They usually come to me at a time of change. There is good change when they're thinking of expanding and they want someone to help them forecast, model it out, figure out whether it's a good move or not. And there is bad change. Something has gone wrong and they don't know what. They simply know that they're not taking home as much as they used to. And that's a real problem.
Thank you so much for introducing us to, the work that you do. It's super important, especially I know that a lot of my listeners are business owners. And so what is your question around negotiation today?
So I think my question, I know my question, it's around helping people who are having a problem with what we call cash flow. And I think, let me just define that term. It means different things to different people. The terms I'd use it for a business is the business brings in income. We all understand that. But then the business has to spend a lot of money. And what is left after the expenses, after the employees have been paid, after the loans have been paid down, after the tax has been paid down, that's what we call the cash flow. It's the money that comes out at the end. And a lot of people tend to come to me when they have a term we've all heard, cash flow problems. And what cash flow problems means is literally you haven't got enough to pay the bills. You probably haven't got enough to pay the bills in the business, but then you need to take some money out in order to survive. And then you've got even less money. And cash flow problems are exhausting because when you don't have them, you just write a check or ping someone some money and forget about it. Your monthly payments go out and you don't think about them. When you have got them, you think, oh my God, the mortgage is coming up on Thursday, payroll's coming up on Friday. What am I? You have to run around spending endless energy, which is in the long run completely non-beneficial. There is no benefit to having a cash flow problem, but you have to deal with it.
So then, what the question is, like, how do you talk to the people who have cash flow problems, or
So my
specifically?
challenge is that a fair number of people do come to me, but the symptom that they come to me with is the cash flow problem. And I am able to help them focus on what it will take to get out of that situation. But it's a bit like they're still in that situation while I'm talking to them. And the challenge I thought I'd talk about with you, Alex, is how to get attention when urgency is dragging you away from what you could do to fix your problem, but the immediate urgent biting of a check is going. I use the word check as an accounting term. I know we don't all write paper checks anymore, but people have issued payments and those payments aren't going to clear. And it's very hard to get your head out of that to focus on what can you do to start fixing the issues that caused that lack of money. So how do we get our head out of the drowning to be able to see the rescue boat and cooperate with the rescue boat?
Yeah. So let me just talk a little bit around the negotiation and emotions, right? So when you are negotiating, you have to have your full logic and reasoning part of your brain functioning. And when you become emotional, then it becomes difficult because the brain goes into this emotional lockdown and then you can't think quite as clearly, right? And so it sounds like what's happening with your clients frequently is that they are in this stressed out stress mode, And so when you're talking to them and you're being very articulate, very calm, if they're in a mode of being stressed out, they probably can't hear you very well, right? They
That's
can't.
exactly the problem. In the moment and in the follow up, because they came to me because they're in stress. So that's a that's a given.
Yes. And also, long-term stress becomes chronic, meaning it's difficult to get in and out of it because it's just chronic and your cortisol levels are high. So there's a lot going on where it's difficult to just say like, okay, let's just calm down for a second. So I think if people are in chronic stress and you're trying to negotiate with them, you're trying to engage with them so that they can make better choices, you first have to deal with the underlying stress that is blocking all of your coaching. Right.
Right.
And so, in order to do that, there's a few things. I think it would be great to just add it to your practice, even though it's a little bit more on the emotional side, a little less on the business side. What it does is it allows the door to open to the business coaching by first addressing the high stress. Because if the high stress is not addressed, because we're like, oh, well, that's an emotional thing and I'm a business coach, all the business advice you're giving them falls flat because they can't hear you and they can't act on it. Right. And so I would say, like, number one, just do just do an easy breathing like exercise where you inhale on 4 counts, you hold for 5 counts, and you exhale for 6 counts. And you can just do this 3 times with them.
So I
And
literally do it with my clients.
yes. And what you want to do is you want to frame it. So everything in life and negotiation is about framing. So when you frame things, people hear it differently. For example, if you said something, Abigail, and I just parroted it back to you, more than likely you're going to say, why are you just repeating me, Alice? That's really annoying, that thing that you're doing where you're just repeating everything I'm saying. If I frame it and I say, hey, Abigail, let me make sure that I understood everything that you had to say, and I start to repeat everything, now you're listening because now you're listening to see if I caught everything that you had to say,
Mhm.
right? So framing is really important. If you just jump in with your business clients and you're like, let's do this breathing thing first, they're going to be like, are you
I
nuts?
know,
I
right?
hired this like, yoga person or what have you. I hired you as a business coach. So you need to frame the entire experience and say, I understand, Abigail, that you've been under a lot of stress. Would you say that that is correct? And then you might say yes. And then I will say, okay, in order for you to be able to hear and process all of the business coaching that I'm about to give you the next hour and that we're about to work on together, I actually need to reduce the amount of stress you're currently feeling so that you can process the new information I'm giving you. Okay? Okay. Then we begin. I'm going to say, we're going to do a 1 minute breathing exercise. And the point of this exercise is to get your brain to function more on the logic and reasoning side so that my coaching will be the most effective for you. You see how I did that?
I do. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
It often, the sequence of the meeting is maybe that we start at the beginning of the hour and they're not that stressed as we come into the meeting. It's literally the looking at what we look at in the meeting stresses them the hell out. So the stress, we might start by discussing topics that aren't stressing for the first 20 minutes or so. As we approach the time of stress, do I do that meeting and say, hey, we're going to be looking at the stuff that neither of us enjoys right now? This would be a great time. Or have I done it up front at the beginning?
So that's a great question. So what you want to do again is frame and set expectations. So when I do my mediations, I set the expectation, I set ground rules. So at the very beginning of your meeting, if people are typically not stressed, then you want to just let them know. There's going to be a time in our coaching session today when we're going to be looking at the numbers, and I'm going to be able to recognize that you are feeling extra stressed out. In that moment, you're not going to be able to take in the information as effectively when I'm giving it to you. So at the time that I notice you're feeling stressed, I am going to do a 1 minute breathing exercise with you to try to get you back into your logic and reasoning side of your brain. Is that okay with you? Yes, yes. Now you've set up their expectation that perhaps 20 minutes in, you're going to say something like, Abigail, let's do that breathing exercise that we talked about at the beginning of the hour. And you can do it at any point in time in the meeting when you're noticing your client is feeling stressed. And if they say, look, Abigail, I didn't hire you for this, whatever, whatever, you can always bring them back to the point that if you're stressed, you can't hear me. I'm trying to get you to a point where you can function with the coaching I'm giving you. And the quickest way to get that done is to actually just bring your cortisol and your stress levels down.
Yeah.
If you
I
keep
mean, I would probably word that. This is the way I am. Your opinion on it? I'd say when we are stressed, we can't hear each other. We're going to be doing this together because we're dealing with some really difficult stuff here.
absolutely, no, that's a
And
great,
one of the things I frame with my clients when I first meet them is the nature of the work I do. I got to get into, I don't know, the equivalent of their dirty laundry in their business, the
yes,
stuff they don't show anyone. And I say, if we're working together, I'm going to be asking you questions that I wouldn't normally ask in another business role. Often I've known them for some time. And I say, this relationship is going to change. You'll have my confidentiality, but I need to know the truth about some things.
yes,
And I do warn them up front that there'll be some stress. But
yes,
this
and
is an extra thing to warn about.
yes, exactly. And it's really good to and I do the same thing. I love the fact they use we because that helps people not take like they don't get defensive, they don't feel like you're blaming them, right? We allow when you use the word we, it allows people to be able to hear better what you're saying because they don't feel like, oh, I'm the one doing the thing wrong, right? It automatically helps their brain. And also, it's great to be able to say, okay, we're going to go into something really uncomfortable, or I'm going to ask you some questions that are going to make us feel uncomfortable, right? Or anything like that, because what that does, it mentally prepares them so they do not feel so blindsided, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you can even do it at the beginning, or you can do it right before you ask the question and say, my next question is going to be really uncomfortable, and just set it up, right? So if you set it up, then I'm bracing myself. I'm like, okay, Abigail told me it was going to be uncomfortable. So now I feel ready. Even if it's like literally 1 second before you ask the question,
I
instead of
mean,
going,
to be fair, those questions when I'm asking them, it's not so much uncomfortable, it's just kind of private. But I need to know what's really happening, not what we tell people is happening.
yes, exactly. Like you need to know what's behind the curtain, right? The part that no one else sees, what's backstage.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that if you just go in and say, the questions I'm going to ask are, for you to reveal information that you typically don't reveal to anyone else. But because I'm your coach, I'm going to need to know the truth behind the numbers, what's actually going on so that I can help you. So framing is everything, and setting the expectation helps significantly no matter what it is that you want to do. You can set up all the different things that you want to do. If you want to help them envision that they're no longer in debt, that they have a lot of cash flow. Sometimes, like just vision exercises are really
Yeah.
great as well, right? And I feel like if you're able to insert a little bit of the softer science type coaching with the hardcore numbers and what you need to do, it will help make it smoother. But you want to let them know why you're doing it and that you're going to do it. You
Yeah.
don't want to suddenly do it.
I mean, actually, that's very much part of what I do help them. We can vision that long term, and the stress doesn't come up at that time. The invasion of privacy might come up because what do they want to do with it? But it's important. Different people have different motivations, and the same person at a different point in their life has a different motivation for doing what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's wonderful work that you're doing. I think you're totally on the right track. And I think that anytime you want to insert some kind of an activity that reduces stress, allude to it at the top of the hour and tell them, like, you may do it, you may not do it, or whatever it is. Just basically set the expectation and explain the why. Because when people understand the why of what you're doing, it's so much easier for a lot of, I'm very similar. I'm like, I want to know why are we doing this, why are we doing this, right? And when I understand the why, then I feel like, oh, okay. For example, I during mediations will say, when it is your turn to speak, please keep it to around 5 minutes or less. Now, I could just leave that rule there and move on. And I know some people are going to be like, why 5 minutes? Maybe
Yeah.
I want to talk for 10, and why arbitrarily picking 5 minutes, right? There's going to happen, and they're going to be thinking, and now they can't hear me because they're thinking in their brains about it. Like some of the people will. So, in order to stop that internal dialogue, I give them the why. I say, more than 5 minutes, it's very difficult for the listener to hold that volume of information in order to respond to it appropriately. And guess what? The minute I say that, everyone puts themselves as the listener, and they are all nodding their heads like, oh, yeah, she's right. I can't listen to more than 5 minutes and hold that volume. Everyone understands. So, in the same sense, if you explain why you're doing the unorthodox thing that you're doing, people will say, oh, okay. And they'll be much more accepting of it when you insert it later into the coaching, because they'll say, oh, Abigail warned me that this was coming, so I'm ready for it. Right? So you
Yeah.
can do the breathing, you can do the visioning, you can do different things. Just let them know that you may or may not do this thing throughout the coaching process. If I notice that you're feeling stressed, I am going to stop it for a moment and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I may do it, I may not. If you aren't stressed, I may not do it. Another thing that's really good, Abigail, to do in your situation is to give them permission to let you know that they're feeling stressed, because sometimes people have a very good poker face and
Yes.
they might feel really stressed, but they are keeping their composure. They look like they're calm, and inside they're kind of freaking out, but they're really, really good at hiding it.
Oh, yeah.
So you can let them know if you are feeling stressed and you're not present, you can't be present, and you can't really listen to me because the stress is starting and you're thinking about the millions of things and how can I do this? I'm really behind in my bills. If that starts to happen, just let me know and we'll go into this exercise. Give them the permission to call that themselves.
Would it be worth like doing the exercise right at the beginning of a meeting? I'll say, let's just do it now so we know what we're going to do. Or is that too much?
You
Like
can,
we're not stressed, we've just arrived, everything's good.
it's a good way to like reground and reset, like start from a neutral space. So like maybe somebody just came running in, they just dropped their kids off at school, they sat down and they haven't even taken a breath. So doing like a 30-second just quick, it's very
Yeah.
short, quick breathing exercise. You're not only demonstrating what it's going to look like if you do it later, you're also helping to just reset
Okay.
everyone's in a calm place. And you say it won't take very long, but it will immediately reground us, recenter us, and put us in a reasoning and logical mind. And then you go forward, and then you will let them know if I need it later, if I notice that you're feeling stressed, or if you notice you're feeling stressed, let me know. And we will just take a break and do a really quick exercise again to like recenter. So let them know that they also have agency to tell you, Abigail, I can't hear you anymore. We need to do this exercise again because
Yeah.
I'm like in my brain, right? So I think that's really important, because if you can set up those expectations with your clients, they are well aware of themselves. And so people can tell you, yeah, I'm like right now kind of stressed out. And then you know, okay, let's take a break. Or you can also alert them and say, if you're feeling any physical, like your breathing is shallow, you feel like your heart is racing, your temples are throbbing, any of those things. So I let them know both emotionally and physically what to look for in order to call the quick break so that I can recenter. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Awesome. So, Abigail, if anyone wanted to work with you, how do they get in touch with you? We'll have all your information in the show notes, but I would love for you to give out one piece of information.
So if you've got my name, you'll find me because I'm one of those people lucky enough to own my domain name. So the name is Abigail Gorton, spelled pretty traditionally Abigail, Gort with a Thomas On. And if you look for abigailgorton.com, there I am.
Awesome. So, everyone, if you'd like to work with Abigail, please reach out to her. I will have her information in the show notes. Thank you so much for being with us today, Abigail.
Thank you, Alice. That was
And
great.
thank
Thank
you to
you.
the listeners for being here with another episode of Negotiation with Alice. Until next time.